In this video, I want to present you an idea of a sub-tree. So we have nations in World of Tanks, but some nations are too little or started too late to have their own whole tech tree. So why not just put them in the tech tree of a nation that's bigger or like somewhat similar? Like for instance, the Taiwan being in the Chinese tech tree, which for me is kind of dumb. And for instance, the Germany being split into the new Germany and the older Germany, the more etwas nostalgisch. So yeah, for the Chinese tech tree, I want to present you a North Korean sub-tech tree. Now, we could have only tank destroyers and one light tank if we don't bring out some fakes. So, without further ado, let's start off with the tank destroyers that would branch off of the 60 GFT. Since 60 GFT is based on an artillery tractor, then the North Korean tank destroyers are no different. They kinda actually look like somewhat of an artillery piece than an actual tank destroyer. So the first vehicle is M1974. M1974 would go with it would be like a paper tank destroyer with good howitzer gun selection. The first gun is 122, second 152. Really not much to talk about. You just pick, give a shot, and reverse. You don't have any armor. You don't have really this much big camo or, first things first, accuracy to camp with this thing. So maybe it would keep away some people from doing this branch so that there will be less campers. I mean, I want to implement the line for the sake that I like to see more tanks in the game, because I like campers. The another vehicle that we will see is VTT 323SJ. Now, the name is kinda made up, because it doesn't really have a name, I think. It's just VTT. The VTT comes with a stock gun of 76mm, then it goes to an 85, longer 85, not some like common 85, it would have proper pen already, and then it gets 100mm, so yeah, this one is an actual proper sniper. Another vehicle goes back to the chassis of T-55, or more like the artillery tractor based on T-55. It's Toktron, I think I read that right. The Toktron is the vehicle that then splits the two other vehicles, but I'll talk about it later. Now, Toktron uses just a normal gun selection of 122, 130mm, and then there's two branches. One is gets a turret, and the gun caliber remains at 130, while the second, well, I'll start with the turret sub-branch. So the M1991 gets 130mm gun and a turret. Not for its traversable thing, but still a thing. It's still a turret, so you can peek or like, you know, reverse peek and stuff. The tier 10 is actually an interesting vehicle. Just look at it. The Juchepo. I think it's Juchepo or something like that. Yeah, and it bases off T-55 components, but it's far bigger. It's like a big box. Of course, it doesn't have any armor, just like the previous ones. It has got a turret, and if I'm not mistaken, the gun is from IS-7. But actually, for these artilleries, there were plenty of 130mm, mostly the IS-7 one and the SM-4-1. So we could decide whichever would be the top one, but the Juchepo wouldn't have like some blastful damage per shot. It would be like imagine a tank destroyer that's just big and has got pretty good DPM. Imagine it playing it like K91 or something like that, just with bigger alpha damage. Also, the Juchepo would reappear as a tier 8 premium for both of the branches. It have the 122 D74 gun, and you know, it would more resemble the aforementioned line than the second, but it would be counted as a premium for both. So because I don't want to have a tier 8 similar to the tier 10 that I'm going up to discuss. Now, the more interesting, another sub-branch that would be in this tech tree would be the branch of tank destroyers with big caliber guns. The other tier 9 is M1992. But what? Vehicle from 90s in World of Tanks? Like, dude, it's technological advancement, like still in 40s. Who cares? So yeah, it would get 152. And I think it's kinda unhistorical, because there weren't really 152mm for these. But I want a smooth progression. Because this is nothing. This is a 152mm tank destroyer tier 9. That's still acceptable, right? That's still kinda reasonable. Now at tier 10 we have M1978 Coxswain. Some of you might know this name, because this vehicle fought in Afghanistan. And the gun is supposedly some North Korean ripoff of a Chinese ripoff of a Soviet ripoff of probably a German ripoff. I mean, not a German, that Soviets ripped off from Germans, I mean. And it's 170mm, so like, it's a gun that's basically very similar to the one on the Jagdpanzer 100, so it hit for 1,000, I think. Now, I'm wondering if these tank destroyers of these big guns should have good camo and expect you to camp, or have good accuracy but poor camo, so they expect you to peek. They don't exactly have turret or anything, not a great traverse either. But I just leave it to you, because what would be more beneficial? Make these Coxswains and M1992 play like Chem's artillery, except not artillery, but artillery. But tank destroyers that just peek and rely on overperforming your reaction time, or maybe just make them regular campers. So yeah, that's another video you've just watched, really quick one, and hope to see you soon in another one. Share your thoughts, of course.